At the elegant banquet, Meifu discreetly discusses Saya with Wells. Looking deeply serious, she thoroughly analyzes her former fiancé's character. She recalls Saya's gentle nature, such as cheerfully helping the elderly and caring for animals, but dismisses these traits as naive, foolish, impulsive, and ultimately weak. Meifu concludes that Saya completely lacks the ruthlessness required of a family patriarch, viewing him as a mere idle young master who falls far short when compared to Wells. She notes that Wells possesses a significant, necessary edge of ruthlessness that Saya glaringly lacks. Wells smirks, openly accepting her harsh assessment of his brother as a flattering compliment to himself. Sipping his wine, Wells reasons that no one would want a fool for an heir, a pragmatic reality the calculating Bayuisha family surely understands. He adds that even if they foolishly chose to support Saya, their nearest forces are 6-star sectors away, rendering them entirely useless for immediate intervention. Gesturing toward a group of distinguished elders gathered nearby, Wells asserts that over 80% of them already back his claim. He is confident they are not senile enough to let Saya take power, even if he were present. He states firmly that the family's fate cannot be entrusted to an incompetent failure simply by virtue of his birth order. Overcome by intense ambition, Wells crushes his wine glass. His aura violently flares red as he passionately declares that he alone is fit to lead the Lersa's family. Meifu gently grasps Wells' hands to calm his surging emotions, reassuring him that Saya's luck will soon end and promising to handle her former fiancé completely. Wells pulls her close, telling her she no longer needs to waste any effort searching for his brother. With a sinister grin and dark purple energy swirling around him, Wells reveals that their esteemed young master has already delivered himself straight into their hands. Meifu glances toward the entrance, her expression sharpening as she notices the arrival of unexpected guests. Saya and Tangdun make a grand entrance into the banquet hall, drawing the attention of the surrounding nobles, who silently part to let them through. As they walk, Saya appears highly tense and nervous, a stark contrast to Tangdun's calm, imposing presence. Saya's expression hardens, filled with grave apprehension about the inevitable confrontation with his family. Noticing his friend's anxiety, Tangdun cheerfully pats Saya on the shoulder, advising him to relax. He casually reasons that a mere banquet couldn't possibly be more dangerous than the deadly battlefields of outer space. Confidently guaranteeing Saya's survival, he tells him to chill out, as there is nothing to fear. Saya is left momentarily speechless, completely exasperated by his bodyguard's overly relaxed attitude in the midst of such a critical political arena. Watching from a short distance, Pyre smiles warmly, highly amused by the comforting dynamic between her brother and his loyal friend as they march forward. The two men suddenly halt their advance, coming face to face with someone blocking their path. Saya looks up to find Wells and Meifu standing together, presenting a united, condescending front. He tensely acknowledges his brother and his former fiancée. A wicked, mocking smile spreads across Meifu's face as she coldly expresses her surprise that Saya actually managed to survive her assassination attempt. Observing the massive warrior standing protectively by Saya's side, she calmly remarks that his exile to the dangerous battlefield clearly wasn't entirely fruitless. Filled with rage at the sight of his betrayers, an incredibly tense Saya furiously glares back, remaining completely silent. Feigning politeness, Wells tells Meifu that he is actually quite pleased Saya decided to show up today. He then confidently snaps his fingers to command the room's attention. The sharp sound draws the eyes of the banquet guests. Raising his voice, Wells patronizingly addresses Saya, claiming they used to be incredibly close and that it would have been a great pity had Saya missed such a joyous occasion. Wells then smoothly shifts his attention, respectfully greeting Payer, and complimenting her as the beautiful flower of the Bayuisha family. Standing elegantly in her formal attire, Pyre silently acknowledges his greeting with a calm, composed demeanor. Sweating nervously with Tangdun looming behind him, Saya clenches his teeth, frustratedly realizing that Wells is already comfortably acting as the undisputed successor of the family. Suddenly, Saya spots a familiar figure in the crowd, and his face lights up with immense relief and joy. He eagerly calls out to Elder Bosi, happily announcing that he has survived and finally returned home. Saya remembers Elder Bosi as the family elder who doted on him the most, a man who once served as his late father's trusted right-hand man. A large part of Saya's courage to attend the banquet stemmed from the desperate hope that loyal elders like Bosi were secretly waiting for him to reclaim his rightful place. However, Elder Bosi's expression remains completely cold and stern. Staring down at the young man, the elder bluntly states that Saya should never have come back, leaving him completely stunned by the harsh reception. Raising a dismissive hand, Elder Bosi delivers a crushing blow. He declares that Saya is no longer qualified to be there, revealing that the Elder Council officially voted 3 days ago to completely expel him from the family register. Saya is left utterly horrified and pale, reeling from the ultimate betrayal by his most trusted elder. The surrounding noble guests immediately break into excited gossip, shocked that the supposedly dead primary heir is actually alive and present. They eagerly anticipate the massive political drama about to unfold before them. Wells bursts into arrogant laughter, mockingly asking Saya how he could possibly win when the guests, the elders, and the council are all already under his control. Adding to the humiliation, Elder Bosi coldly waves his hand, ordering the guards to drag Saya away and lock him up until the banquet concludes so they can dispose of him later. As Pyre tries to step forward, 2 armored guards immediately cross their arms to physically block her path, leaving her visibly shocked. Elder Bosi issues a stern warning to Pyre, stating that despite her high status in the Bayuisha family, she has no right to interfere in the internal affairs of the Lerses. He advises her to remain a silent spectator if she wishes to avoid being thrown out. Seeing Saya completely paralyzed by the betrayal, Tongdun urgently tells his friend to snap out of it, declaring that it is time for him to step in and forcefully carve a path of retreat. However, before Tangdun can act, he is suddenly hit by a powerful, invisible force that lifts his massive frame off the ground in sheer terror. He quickly realizes another expert is present, identifying the attacker's oppressive aura as that of an overwhelming level 13. The attacker is revealed to be Mr. Wu, a blind martial artist in an orange tunic who serves the Laris's family. With just a raised hand, he effortlessly suppresses the level 12 bodyguard. As the guards aggressively grab and restrain him, a struggling Saya curses his luck. He recalls his late father mentioning the immense fortune the family spent annually to retain a level 13 martial expert, bitterly realizing that this ultimate weapon is now being used to capture him. Looking down at the subdued Saya, Wells gloats that he originally wanted his brother to witness his glorious ascension to power, noting with fake pity that Saya will no longer have the chance. Forced to the floor with a guard's hand crushing his head down, a despairing Saya questions the witch Yin's prophecy. He curses his own stupidity for believing in some grand destiny when it only led him straight into an inescapable trap. Suddenly, the scene shifts to the vastness of space just outside the planet, where a massive, glowing tear rips through the cosmic fabric. An enormous, majestic white spaceship emerges from the brilliant blue portal, exuding an aura of absolute authority. The colossal vessel descends directly into the planet's atmosphere, its massive hull casting a dark, overwhelming shadow over the Lerses family estate. Inside the banquet hall, the guests rush to the balconies, staring up in awe and terror at the gigantic ship blocking out the sky, wondering who could possibly command such a vessel. Mr. Wu's calm demeanor shatters into absolute panic. Sweating profusely, he recognizes the ship and yells out that it is the personal flagship of the Stellar Commander, signaling that the supreme ruler of the Star Sector has personally arrived. The entire crowd of nobles erupts into sheer shock and disbelief at the unimaginable arrival of such a legendary and powerful figure.